of the Finance Committee, and the date is Tuesday, May 27th, 6:30 PM, and the movie and the meeting is being, it's available on Local Access Channel 15, and it's also in Spanish. So we're gonna, first thing I'd like to do is, we were supposed to have a meeting of some items, eminent domain takings on Cabot and Race Streets in Holyoke. So if anyone is here in attendance for this item regarding the eminent domain takings on Cabot and Race Street, those items will be taken up this Thursday, May 29th at 5:30 PM. Due to a technical error where the published agenda on the website, they were not on the official agenda and could not be taken up tonight to be in accordance with the open meeting law. So if anybody is here for that, have a nice evening. And we'll hopefully see you on Thursday. So I'll open up the meeting asking for a motion to accept the minutes unless you see any changes.
Motion to accept and approve the minutes.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Okay, item number 2 is, sorry, I don't have a pen. Thank you. You're not going to have a pen.
More.
Item number 2 is from Devine and J. Rivera Ordered that the Commission on Disabilities be invited to the Finance Committee to discuss Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 22G, which will officially set aside funds from the handicap parking violation fines into an independent budget. Move we take it off the table for discussion.
So moved.
And I noticed that Lynn Horan is here. A lot of this has already been discussed in the budget meetings we had the other day. And so what I'd like to do is read the law into the record. And it's any city or town which has accepted the provisions of Section 8J is hereby authorized to allocate all funds received from fines assessed for violations of handicap parking in said city or town to the Commission on Disabilities. Funds so received shall be deposited by the city or town treasurer in a separate account and shall be used solely for the benefit of persons with disabilities. Said account shall be established by the city or town treasurer and shall be kept separate and apart from any other monies. Expenditures from said account, including accrued interest, if any, shall be made upon recommendation of the Commission on Disabilities in accordance with the accepted procedures of the city or town for the disbursement of funds, including the approval of the mayor and the city council or the town manager or board of selectmen. The city or town accountant shall submit annually a report of said account to the mayor and city council or the town manager and board of selectmen for review, and a copy of said report shall be forwarded to the Bureau of Accounts. So we've taken that off the table for discussion, and like I said, Lynn is here. We have talked about it at other meetings, so I don't know, I think the best thing for me to do is open it up to the Finance Committee to ask you any questions that they may have, because not all of them may have been at the meeting, okay? So I don't know if you want to go by the microphone?
Yes, and I would also say our vice chair of our Commission on Disability, and we hope soon to be treasurer, who's also on our budget committee.
Okay.
Jessica Lebron-Martinez.
Jessica, what's your last name?
Lebron-Martinez.
Oh, I know that last name. Okay. Why don't we start? Councilor Ocasio, do you have any questions of the committee based on the law? They would like us to accept the law that I just read.
No, I don't have no questions.
I have questions.
Okay, we'll go this way.
Oh, yeah, sure, that's fine.
Councilor Givner, any questions?
I don't have any questions. It seems pretty straightforward to me.
Yeah, me as well. Councilor Sullivan?
Yes, would have a question for our attorney if we have someone online.
I don't see anybody, do you?
No, it doesn't look it.
Is there, Counselor Bissonette, I don't see you online either.
No.
Okay,
At the moment, none of the members of the law department are on.
okay. Do you expect them, Jeff?
At the moment, none of the members of the law department are on.
Okay, Counselor Jordan?
Okay.
Here.
And I
There
would
you
just say, too, that our bylaws are structured, as you might imagine, by the Massachusetts law. And I just wanted to let you know, too, that I've been working with Jeffrey Dugan at MOD, the Massachusetts Office on Disability, and he specializes in this sort of procedure. And he has said, any calls from you all, are welcome. And he's also said he'd be glad to correspond with you, or even if necessary, try to arrange a time to come down and speak with you if you have any concerns.
And his name again, Lynn?
Jeffrey Dugan, Dougan. And that again is the Massachusetts Office on Disability.
Oh, good. Maybe we should have them in a
Okay.
future meeting. So I guess I'll begin my questions of what is the genesis of this? Obviously, we're not a very new city, and this is not a new law. So why would we want to do this? And before I ask that rhetorical question, I'll just say, for example, some of the wording in this statute says all the funds, right? So this presumably means any handicap ticket money that we ticket anybody would all go into this department, as opposed to the mayor saying, well, I'll take $10,000. By the way, how much, one of my questions is, how much do we collect in a year? How much money are we talking about?
Well, and we did send that out and discuss that in the meeting. So it has varied. What I did, and well, first of all, the genesis of this, I kind of had a question as commission chair and a disabled person. Why wasn't this done sooner, actually? But like a lot of things, particularly in the disability community, we find we're the last to know or be asked, frankly. And again, for me, wanting to kind of bring the commission into this century and to help disabled residents of Holyoke, people in worse situations economically disabled than I am, for instance, and because knowing state law allows us to do this, as do the Holyoke laws, that was my thought. And as I began to see and understand more issues myself, particularly moving from disability from a crutch of 30 years and now at my 40-year mark of disability into a wheelchair, and seeing the issues that come about in terms of being able to work, being able to be independent, contribute to our community, that it would be great if we could do more. And then found out in my research that that was a possibility. So that was the genesis, brought it in front of the commission.
Okay.
We discussed it, voted on it.
How much money are we talking about, Lynn?
The independent budget that is described in the Massachusetts law, the chapter 40.
How much money does the city
22G.
collect that if we were
So
to adopt
the
this
city
would actually
collects,
go
what
into?
I did, Counselor Jordan, is I went to the mayor first and also had a meeting with him about our desire, and then also contacted, you can't really have a budget if you don't know what's coming in.
Right.
So what we did was take the last 5 years, from 2020 to 2025, and asked the Treasury Department. We communicated with Rory, who gave us figures, but I had also gotten figures from Laura, our tax collector. Rory's figures that were submitted at the hearing, so I can certainly send all of those on. I know Meg McGrath was at the hearing and asked questions. I just sent her specifics. Rory's are all parking, mostly figures. And then I had more specifics where they broke down the amount of tickets. We even got a list of the officers individually who wrote the tickets and where they were.
Excuse
in the
me, when you
last
say
5
tickets, you're
years.
talking handicap
These
ticket.
are
Okay.
just handicapped tickets specifically that came from that office, and I can also send those to you. So our figure was based on the 850 tickets coming in. These are $300 tickets, by the way, for handicap parking violation.
So 850 tickets at 300 apiece. Mm-hmm. That's the amount of money we're talking about?
Again, roughly.
Okay. Okay. So let me just get my trusty calculator out here.
That's what I did.
Thank you. So that's $255,000. So this money is currently going into the general fund.
That's correct.
Okay. And what you're suggesting, if we were to adopt this law, is that we would take $255,000 from being deposited in the general fund and put it into this account that would be earmarked for some new spending that would go for whatever things that the Disability Commission wants to spend the $255 on?
No, what we're suggesting is $36,000. That also was submitted, I'll make sure everybody gets this. I guess I assumed outside my letter they did. So when we sent a letter to City Council, the commission did, of our request, we also categorized and itemized the amount of money. $36,000 is what we're asking for.
Okay, but this
Now-
law that you're asking us to
Yes.
adopt does not say that. This law that you're asking us to adopt says all the funds.
Yeah, well, again, talk to Jeff Dugan and you find out that's, recommended in some ways, but not at all necessary or necessarily required. Counselor Jordan. And
Okay,
our
well, we'll have
approach.
to get into the nuance of that. That's obviously a critical detail, because one of
Yep.
my questions is, if I don't want to have it where that I'm passing something that just removes $255,000 out of the budget when you only need 36,000. So my question is, why don't we just give you the 36,000? And this money continues to go in. If this is what the mayor is proposing, you guys would come in, you would say, this is what we're going to spend the 36,000 on. I'm sure it's going to be wonderful stuff. Whatever it is, you guys do a great job, Disabilities Commission, the whole 9 yards. But I guess my concern about this law being adopted is it says all the money. And that would be my concern, because someone tomorrow, next year could say, well, you're not in compliance with the law, and you adopted this law. We've
Right.
seen this movie before in other contexts.
Right.
And it's, well, I know that's not what we meant, but that's what you have to do, and now you should have known that before you adopted the law. So I just want us to be very careful. We know exactly what we're doing here before we just run around adopting laws that say things that maybe not what we exactly intend. So that was my basic synopsis of my question around it. I'm sure you'll spend the 36 grand wisely, but I did want to just present that we have to pay the people that go around and issue these tickets. We have to pay for their Kubota. We just got 1 or 2 of those. We just bought them all kinds of uniforms. That was a subject of discussion not this past year, but the year before. We had an elongated conversation about who's getting paid what, who's getting new vehicles, and we're supposed to be driving traffic into the garages, and some of these funds are supposed to be paying these people's salaries. So I don't know if that's being taken into consideration by the mayor or how he's laying that all out, but I'll pick that up from there with the mayor, perhaps directly. And then, yeah, maybe we have Mr. Dugan can come in and tell us, okay, if you adopt this, but then you adopt something else, you can tailor it so it doesn't really mean all the money. It means just what the mayor appropriates and is approved by the city council, something like that. And then I think you would find a lot of support for this.
So that's a whole lot of things, but one thing I did want to say, in our hearing, we had a lot of really good questions. I'm a teacher. Questions mean interest, so I appreciate that. One of them came from Counselor Izzy Rivera, and
Who,
he
by
was
the way-
talking about enforcement. And enforcement, I would answer that, first of all, is most of, to my knowledge, from our ADA officer, Kelly Curran, who is also personnel director, as you know, what we know is the enforcement is a combination of Holyoke police officers, and then they have hired someone, 2 people is usually is what it is, who are paid to come in and mostly to take care of handicapped and any kind of parking violations. They tend to be more downtown and on High Street, that area. They also have duties with DPW in terms of lawn mowing, etc. And this has been going on for many years. So both of these groups get paid, and I have to tell you, this law was not created to create revenue. This law was created to protect people like myself and the people we represent. And so they're doing their job as law enforcement. They get salaries, they get paid for it. That's the way I see it. I'm very grateful to them because no law is powerful without enforcement. And I hope that part of this will be discussion with them as well in supporting them on that. But that's how I would answer that part of it.
Excuse me, Lynn.
Yes.
Counselor Rivera is online, so we can have him speak, and then Counselor Sullivan would be next. So, Counselor Rivera, you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you. Again, for me, I'm in agreement to kind of give them the funding with regards to where it's needed, and if it's in the law, it's in the law. But there is a piece of it where time on task, right? You can have whatever's left after we can subtract time on task of the efforts that got put in by the officers or by whoever it is that is writing the tickets. If we can't afford to pay these people in the future, you get no tickets. We get no funds coming in. So yes, it's nice that we've been able to do this over time, but I am of the belief that we should be tracking time on task for everything that's done in the system. So that way we know how much it's costing us for that particular officer, for that caboodle, as Councilor Jordan mentioned, for that particular enforcement person. That way it's not going just it's not about creating revenue, it's about sustaining something for the future off of the funds that are being gained. And whatever's left over, for me, it would make sense to, yes, create a revolving account, allow the Disabilities Commission to do what needs to be done with it. But before that, and this is just my own nonprofit mindset and just in general, there are a lot of dollars being gone through the system, and I say the Holyoke system, just because of we think that the job is that, right? And for us, some of it is that, but at the same time, there is a space where if it costs this much money for procurement to be involved, right? If it costs this much money for Kelly to be involved, these are times on tasks that they're not doing the other jobs that they could be doing, right? So it's like, how do we backfill some of that? And if it's a little bit of this, and it's not just for Disabilities Commission, it's also other tickets that are being written throughout the city as well. And wherever the money's being gone, for me, I think we as a community, as a city, got to do a better job of tracking time on task. So that way we know where our efforts are being put in. And this is an easy one where you can say, I did the math. I think if you guys said 850 in 5 years, that's about 170 tickets a year being written in between both police and um, the, the parking enforcement. So that we're saying we're going out there sending them to go write up a whole bunch of tickets. But if they're there doing that, it has to be funded somehow. And in a sense, if we're taking it out of the general funds, which the general funds technically is funding it, if you think about it, then we as a community have to come up with this extra money to be able to fund these positions or to help fund other things in the community. So if it's time on task, I've already talked to Rory, and I've talked to some of the other people in the department to see if they can map out how much it does cost. What does it cost? Time on task to have that officer, if they're writing a ticket specifically for this, or if they're writing a ticket specifically for something else. Just so that we know, even if we decide to just forego it and not to go through the time on task, but we should know what it is costing us to have our staff do certain things within the parameters that they're doing. Yes, it is their job, but again, we as a community can't necessarily afford to just like, if there are different avenues to bring in that little bit, offset some of the costs, it kind of makes sense to do that. But I'm only thinking about that as like a government efficiency piece with us in the community that we're at. If we can afford to just go ahead and divvy out the funds, then we can do it. But I think we're in a position right now as a community where like we are exhausting certain funds, and we're at a point where we can't continue to tax the taxpayer all the time for things. And there are other ways that we can work around and be creative to make sure that we're not always putting the burden on kind of, and it's the same for police, it's the same for fire, it's the same for anybody else throughout the city. I'm not specifically saying it with you guys. I appreciate the work that you're doing, Lynn, and I appreciate the work that the Disabilities Commission is doing. This is a good thing to move forward, but I strongly believe that there has to be some like ideology on what the time on task is a cost. It just so that we know, and in the future, how we can continue to sustain what we're doing as a community moving forward.
Can I respond?
No, 1 second, Counselor Sullivan, and then.
There's incorrect information going on, and I think that's part of the problem.
Go ahead, Lynn.
So, Councilor Rivera, those figures that Rory gave us, I have them in front of me. Councilor Jordan, I have an extra copy if you want Rory's. I didn't bring mine with me, unfortunately. But those figures, when I contacted, and Rory, this is what Rory gave me. Absolutely. What he gave me, I had already gotten from the tax collector the breakdown of handicapped, and I have said this clearly a couple times. These are not all parking tickets. That 850 tickets is not all parking violations in general. They are handicapped. The officers, she also sent me a list for the last 5 years of the actual tickets, where they were written for handicap parking violation. So first of all, we need to get that really clear. I'm like you. I want to know where the money is, what it is. I'm a logical thinking person. How can you get to a solution of any issue or a new budget without knowing what's coming in as well as what's going out? I also agree with you about the part of those folks that enforce it. We need that. I want to be careful with that, because when we take that so far, it goes back to the question that are people that are disabled, again, perpetrating some terrible thing upon our community? No, this law is there to protect us. But if you look at the figures, and I will make sure this time that every city councilor gets that. I'm putting together a packet anyway that has those specific figures for handicap parking. And then when you see those amounts, even looking at Rory's amounts, you will see that what we've asked, $36,000 total for 2025, is just a portion of the total amount. So we agree with you. We're going into this in a very reasonable fashion. We're also not giving any former mayors or other folks a lot of a hard time for why wasn't this done sooner, this whole process. But I'm like you. I want to find out exactly what it is, who's involved, and again, what we're asking is reasonable. That's all I wanted to say, that we have to be really clear. Those figures that Rory has there are not the actual specifics for just handicap parking. The other thing you should also know that needs to be known, to me too, and to our commission, is when Laura, the tax collector, gave us that information on the individual ones, there's a certain amount of tickets that are written violators, right, that they actually don't charge. They find out they've made a mistake. That's happened to me before. That's not uncommon. Then there's the amount, so there's a certain amount of those total tickets that actually didn't go all the way through or weren't enforced beyond that first ticket giving. Then there's a portion of those that may not have paid their fees. I'd love to know why they're not paying their fees. So I'm right there with you in getting the facts and figures on this, but I would like to see it get started.
Okay, Counselor Sullivan and then Counselor Givner.
Yeah, both Councilor Rivera and Councilor Jordan have hit on most of the points I had, but the numbers here, those are the same numbers we were given by the treasurer, averaging 150,000 a year is about the rough average of what we've done over the last 5 years. But that was for all tickets combined.
All tickets.
All tickets, not just for handicapped ones. So,
Can we know that number? Just the handicap number?
no.
Do you have, can I see?
Now,
This is apparently all tickets.
we don't, that would take some more work. And also, just the 2 parking control officers, and yes, we do get more revenue from that, but just those 2 are a budget item of $103,000. So we don't know what comes from them or what comes from the police department either. So I think, myself, I think the $36,000 in the budget, I'm fine with that, but before I adopt the same deal, any law that says that has the word all funds, when we have a carry, we do have a problem here.
Thank you.
So I if nobody else has any questions,
I do. Kelly Curran is online if you want her to say something, speak, unless you still got more things.
no, I'd like to just make a motion to table so that we can get some more information.
Okay. Why don't we have, you, Counselor, oh, you're all set? Counselor Givner is all set. Kelly Curran, you're online. You have something you want to add?
Yeah, I just wanted Ben to know I was online and I'm supportive of that. I understand Councilor Jordan's concerns about the amount of money because, we can say, oh, we collected this much, it's owed to us. That's not our intent. Our intent is to have some sort of income from those tickets. And, right now the council and the mayor supports us getting $36,000 in the future. Who knows if this law isn't adopted, if future councilors or mayors will give the council, the commission, money for us to have. That's all I wanted to say.
Counselor Givner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I did not listen to the hearing, so excuse me. But the 36,000 seems arbitrary. Is it would it be a percentage ongoing of a certain amount?
It isn't arbitrary. As I said, I have sent those figures. Meg McGrath, I just sent them out to her because she asked those questions. I have been corresponding with Councilor Devine and others about what they need. I did not bring that in but I can get that to you easily, that they are specific. As I've just stated, this comes from our city's tax collector. For the last 5 years, she ran it for just handicap parking, and there were 850 tickets. She also gave me the long list of each officer that wrote the ticket, so you will easily be able to see whether they work, and sometimes you can see because it's Sergeant so-and-so. You'll also see the areas, interestingly enough, that seem to have the violations the most often. But that's all there. That it is not arbitrary. It has been my whole life for the last 6 months. And because I am facts-based, as you all, particularly for something like this, and have been in touch with the state law as well as our own bylaws. And again, Jessica, our Treasury Committee has been meeting. We have met at full commission and discussed this a number of times, as well as the history of it, and how we would break it down. We also went to the mayor. One thing that's kind of important, I think, to me, back to the genesis too, Councilor Jordan, for me, is that the asset of an independent budget, to what I understand after talking to Jeffrey Dugan and other cities, municipalities, other commissions on that also have this independent budget. It allows for revolving. So what that means is we would always have a budget. And that's different from the city where you cannot do that. And Rory discussed at our hearing why that was. And by the way, that meeting is also recorded. And so a lot of this information, it may be beneficial for you to hear that as well last week at the mayor's budget meeting. And we went to the mayor also because we know the need for folks right now, like myself, in worse circumstances, and especially, quite frankly, with Medicaid cuts, health issues, housing, transportation for their medical appointments. We are going to get hit really, really hard. And we already are. And so, because people have to make projections about what they're going to do. And so, this would allow us, if we work with the mayor's budget, it was a quicker process. He understood that, so that he could do that for the beginning of 25, because I certainly expected this process would go longer through you all. We haven't done it before. I get that. That's fine. I'd like to see it happen as soon as possible, but back to the independent budget, we would not have to come to you every year, take up your time in these meetings as well as ours. Bureaucracy has its place, rules and law do, but if we go through a good process, as Councilor Jordan has said in the beginning, then we don't have to keep doing that. If we have an emergency among our community, we will be able to shift money from one aspect of the budget to another easily too.
Lynn, my question is, right now you have a budget that's part of the city budget that we passed the other night for $36,000 total.
That's correct.
Any funds from handicap tickets that are paid, will they go into that budget, or will there be a separate budget?
Any money that's paid now, we will have to keep that separate.
Okay.
And as I said, I would love to have this go sooner than later,
Right,
independent, but I understand process.
Right.
And
But-
so I don't think that's going to happen. So I don't
Right.
think there's even likely going to be a whole lot of overlay anyway.
And a question that I have as well is that, say, hypothetically, there's 100 handicap tickets that were written, whether they're written by a police officer, the DPW guys, whoever they're written by, there's still that possibility that some won't be paid. And now you have to go to court. Now, does the city go to court for those tickets that aren't paid?
Does the city go to court? I
law
have
department.
no idea how they actually do it.
Okay.
And again, they are hiring a private group to do some of the ticketing too. So that company would probably be, I don't know if Kelly knows the name of the company, that company may also be, or again, Rory's office of how, or the tax collector again, of how they actually enforce that part. And that these are all important questions. One quick thing too, Councilor Jordan, just because if you don't mind, it might make it easier, or anybody, Patty, this was submitted with our request to Carmen. That is the budget items, the way we broke them down. And I would also let you know that all of those categories, because again, we did our due diligence, they are all recommended by the state as according to the law, because you cannot just give out money willy-nilly. Even to disabled people. So those are the categories. All of them do accord with the law. They all definitely have need in terms of disabled students. I've already talked with a number of the education officials here about where those needs are. They're pretty reasonable. And the survey is really important because that will give us stats and data on exactly how many residents there are and what their needs are as well.
And that survey is done through this handicap payment of tickets. So right now, we have no way of knowing how many are going to be written, how many are those be paid, and how many are going to be in court.
No, they can give percentages, and Rory's been, for those that have been calculating these, because as you can see, he does projections, and he described at that hearing that you can listen to as well as talk to him, that he described how they do those projections. Okay. But you look at just those 5 years, it's a fair amount of money, and I think Councilor Jordan, I noted possibly on the copy I gave you that the 1 year obviously was COVID, where obviously people weren't going out as much, so not parking. Right. So different things can impact it, but you can certainly get an average.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else have any questions?
Well, I will have, Madam Chair, follow-up questions. I'll put them in an email format. I'll probably send them. Kelly, are you the one sort of spearheading the questions and stuff so that if we table this, which is likely where this is going, we can get whatever follow-ups we need before the next meeting? Because obviously I have a lot of statistics questions and making sure we have really good data as to how much we're actually collecting and funding, and and then how do these things, it's sort of a somewhat separate conversation, but, how is these things that we're going to spend the $36,000 compatible with like a lot of that we're doing? Like, for example, I think one of the things that really opened my eyes about special education transportation was, we spend in excess of $7 million a year. So I see we have aid to students who are disabled or providing, the city already gives over $7 million a year for transportation of students. Whoever needs it gets it. All you have to do is have it in your IEP, and we're spending $12,000 a year per student.
Transportation is not one of the areas we're looking at there.
Okay.
Transportation is where we're looking for our senior center, and we have been talking.
We have drivers there as well that we pay for.
You don't have accessible vehicles.
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting.
You do not. And I've worked for other senior centers. In fact, we've been talking in Neve about ways we can contribute to that.
Yeah, so I'll follow up on some of those points, because this is what the survey, hopefully, that you're going to do will tease out these issues about where are the needs, right? Yeah. As you're pointing correctly out. Yeah. So anyways, I'll follow up with all of those that I have. But it'll be interesting to really learn like how much an actual handicap tickets per year. How does that compare to 36,000? Maybe that's where they came up with the number. I don't know. We'll find out, and we'll get into all that.
I just want to notify that Meg McGrath Smith is online. She doesn't have her hand up or anything, but I want to at least let
Thank you.
the
Yes,
public
she
know
has
that.
that information. I sent it to her.
Okay. All right. So does anybody else have any other questions? Mike?
Is Israel still have his hand up?
No, that's a weird hand.
That's a cursor.
It's like, see?
Yeah. All right. Motion, I'll second Counselor Sullivan's motion to table.
All right, and is there any specific date that we can have all our questions? The date I'm looking at is June 24th, because after that, we're in recess.
Well, we could shoot for that.
Does the 24th, can we try to do something there?
24th of June.
Of June?
Yeah, and I would say too, if you'd like to have Jeffrey Dugan come in.
Absolutely.
You know, he's offered that, which is great, and it's part of his job, but I got to check with his schedule.
Okay.
Because obviously, you know, in the state right now, there's bills coming up. They're pretty busy, just as
Yeah.
we are before summer break.
Okay, if he can make it, that would be great, I think. Or even if he can zoom in, you know, that would be
Yes.
helpful.
Yeah,
That would be
I know
helpful.
he'd be more than willing to do that. So the sooner you can throw out some dates that would work, the sooner I can contact him too.
Okay, all
Maybe you
right,
could ask him about the 24th if that's possible.
Okay,
yeah,
definitely will.
yeah. And again, I think it's a good law, but all of a sudden, there's so many questions, you know, especially people that don't pay their tickets.
Right.
I have
Then
a-
the other question is,
Thank you.
even if, like, we just want to make sure when it says all the money,
Right.
like, what is that, like, what exactly are we signing up for? So versus, you know, obviously, maybe we just put it in the budget every year and it's, you know, we just do it that way.
Yeah.
You know, I think we're aligned relative to the goal,
Yes,
you know?
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. We'll think about it some more and we'll figure it
And
out.
we're also at a disadvantage of not having an attorney with us today.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think it would be a good idea to table this till the 24th. You check with
Mr. Dugan.
Mr. Dugan and see if he's available, and maybe we can get this done one way or another.
Yeah, I hope so. And I have to say, again, I'm a pragmatic person, and when I go and try to get where the money's coming from, where it's going, and I'm having difficulty, maybe in the process, as much as I want to see these people get this, that doing it right the first time is going to save everybody, I hope.
Yes,
As long as that desire is genuine
yeah,
and not obfuscation, I have no problem with that. I think the same way.
Okay.
And I would also thank you for your informality in this, but also please feel free to contact me. As you will see when Meg gives you those figures too,
Okay.
they're there. There's also questions in my mind, as I said from them. You know, why are so many of them rejected, et cetera? What's the process?
Right.
So maybe we kill two birds with one stone by going through this process and kind of cleaning up all of that. I only ask you, again, to keep us in the loop.
yep,
We are more than just participants. We live this.
I agree.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
We
you, Lynn,
appreciate it.
and Thank you as well.
Thank you, Lynn.
So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, so we will table it until the 24th of June, and hopefully we'll have some more answers by then. Okay, thank you very much. Lynn, thank you, as usual. Okay.
Motion to take item 3 off the table?
Second.
Okay, order Devine that there be and hereby appropriate by transfer in fiscal year 2025, $45,525.58 from tree climber, $45,525.58, to contracted forestry services, $45,525.58. Move we take it off the table for discussion.
So moved.
Come on in and just hit that button so that we can hear you. Okay. Who wants to go first?
Should, just by way of context, would it be helpful, Madam Chair, if I just lead off?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. So,
Counselor Jordan.
first of all, thank you both for coming by way of follow-up. We had tabled this item on the premise of a few things. We wanted to really understand from the DPW/forestry, you know, where are we at with forestry services in the city? There was an information request made to the department, I want to say the first week of February, which asked that we be, the city council and the mayor be provided with the list of the 100 most dangerous trees in the city that you have identified for removal, so that when we're appropriating large swaths of money for contracted services, now this additional request, like, okay, you're gonna get this tree and this tree and this tree and this tree, we're taking down tree number 21 through 28. Like, we don't have really any rhyme or reason as to, right now, at least for I'll speak just for myself, like, what exactly, like, how many trees, what trees, where are these trees, like, what, like, we were kind of looking for a plan. And as to where and what are we doing? What do we do in-house? John, what do you cut down for trees? What is the contracted services? How does all this intersect? Like, what is actually happening? So if you could enlighten us on all of that, then we wanted to move forward with your request.
Did you get a list?
I'm just getting it now. So did this come in our packet for tonight?
Yes.
Okay, let me get this.
Yeah, tree removal
So-
was May of 2025. And real quick, while you're looking at that,
All right.
I just want to mention on the second page where it says Finance Committee meeting, May 27, 2025, the 100 most dangerous trees, see attached updated list. Transfer request 40,000. Okay, so it's a 45.5, okay.
Yeah, the
Thank you.
original request came from my predecessor.
Okay,
So
thank
my
you.
typo.
That's okay, thank you.
Beautiful. So if you could go through this, that would be really helpful.
Okay, so I'll start and I'll let John then pull in with respect to the trees. So the cool part is what you have in front of you came as a result of a lengthy conversation with John. Let's both educate me and the city council, because I had been listening to some of the meetings and the kinds of questions you had. So let's just go there. So we lead with the note 45,000, and John reached out to the contractor, and the contractor is available as of June 2nd to use that 45,000 to go to the top 10, ideally work down this list. This is a list of priority, more or less.
No, the top 10 are probably the priority. This list is generated primarily from call-ins from residents. There has been nothing done in-house because we have no tree crew other than myself.
Right.
I've been out of contractor money since January. Carl was gonna put the request in. I gave him the list that I had of the trees for removal. I don't know why it didn't get to you at that point in time, but for some reason it didn't. I don't know what the 100 most dangerous trees in town are.
And if you don't, we're really in trouble.
Kind of impossible to know that without being able to look at every single tree.
Right.
Okay, so let me, if I may,
Yeah.
Madam Chair. So you're the city forester,
Yep.
and obviously if you're not in the know, I'm certainly not in the know. And I guess my question is, what precisely is it that you do? So that, I guess what I'm trying to understand is, if I was the city forester, that I guess I would theoretically, if you're saying it's not safe for you to take anything down, I don't know, does that mean like you take down the little ones where I don't need a big crew, it's only an 8-foot tree, or I trim branches, I don't take a whole tree down, stuff you can do safely by yourself? And does that mean you go around and inspect the trees? Like, so it shouldn't be Kevin just calls, hey, John, I got a tree on Hillside, and then it makes it to the top 100 list. Theoretically, all these calls are coming in from nice people like us, counselors or citizens or whatever, and then you go out theoretically, right? And you're evaluating, oh, okay, this one, that one's fine, that's no big deal. Like, I've had one on Walnut Street,
Right.
I've asked for 2.5 years to have taken down, and it's still not down.
Correct.
For whatever reason. And,
No resources.
no resources. Well, hopefully with the 45,000, we'll have the resources. But, what I'm trying to understand is, like, who goes around, whoa, that one's horrific, like, that's gotta be in the top 10, and this one over here, well, that'll be in round 2. Like, is it you that goes around and evaluates all these and marks them, or like, just educate us if you
These
could
top
on
10 have all already caused property damage.
Okay,
Either to
when you say the
someone's-
top, that's these guys here, this is gonna be,
Either to someone's home, someone's car, someone's fence, and they're
Okay.
poised to do it again.
all right.
Ones
So-
in the parks that are in the top 10. We're inviting people into use splash pads, use play equipment.
Right,
There's dead trees over the top of these that I feel need to come down.
very good.
Trees that are in high traffic areas, high populated areas, generally, in my opinion, get bumped up the list.
Sure,
We've been totally reactionary for so long. That's all we've been. Until we started being proactive last, I want to say 2024, when we started doing a street at a time, until we got shut down. Oil police didn't like the contractor out there without a police detail. So we trained some people to be flaggers. 2 of them are Parks members, 3 of them are DPW members. Right now, none of them are available. In the winter time, fall time, when things are slow in the parks, or then I have the ability to have flaggers and try and save some money. We've started projects. We started Main Street. We took down 39, 40 dead trees there because of the emerald ash borer. We're never able to finish pruning that street. I had wanted to do that, but now, from what I understand, there's a TIPS project. And Victoria tells me that all the trees on at least one side of the street are going to be removed. So we waste the time now trying to prune trees that we don't know are going to be removed. So I kind of put that one on the back burner. As you said, Walnut Street, I've had many, many repeat phone calls from a lot of folks. And there are a lot of standing dead trees on there. So I wanted to start at Sargent Street, work my way all the way down Walnut, do all the pruning and do all the removing that I could with this contractor.
okay.
After we get rid of these top 10. I want to bring the contractor in for a week of removals. It's a minimum $8,000 a week to bring the contractor in. Doing removals is going to be even more expensive than that because they bring more equipment in and we get charged for disposal. So after that's done, I want to try and tackle Walnut Street because it's in dire need.
Yes,
We did Beach Street, we did Linden Street when we were doing the street tree pruning. We started at Lyman and worked our way up and got as far as Essex Street before we got shut down. We hired a tree climber, which was great. He was phenomenal. He knew his job, he did his job well. He didn't work out. He just stopped coming to work, unfortunately. We need an in-house crew if you want to be able to react to things, and that's been a problem.
yeah, that's obviously a debate we're having, whether or not to use more contracted services versus in-house. We should have that conversation, not tonight, but ultimately, how we want to approach it. There's a lot of concerns around liability and the ability, to have long-term employees, and are they getting injured on the job, or, there's a lot of pieces to that, to having it employed versus contracted. One of the other pieces of the information request was obviously, yes, the list, so this is good, and unless you reorder this, I guess I'll just say this is the list, 1 through 100. But the other is, what other sources of revenue, because apparently you're saying nothing can be done in-house on any of these, correct?
Emergencies. I have to take someone with me. I won't
Okay.
operate that truck on my own.
Okay,
Someone has to come with me, someone's gotta be on the ground, sometimes two people.
Right.
And that means something else isn't getting done.
right. Which obviously we paid $250,000 for a truck we're not using, which is very concerning because this council was lobbied for a truck that's not being used. So that's a problem to taxpayers. The other thing is, we're expecting the department to put together a budget, that was in the information request as well, as to what will it cost to take these trees down? And then we, mayor, council, DPW leadership, need to identify income or revenue sources to approach this and develop a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, whatever, 4 year plan to get these down, right? Like, once we have people saying, this stuff is lingering around and it's dangerous, then we need a plan to get it addressed. That's the whole genesis that Councilor McGrath Smith and I filed this information request on, was because we want a specific plan to take these down. So if 45 grand is gonna get us what, the first 10 on this?
45 grand will get you about 5 weeks of work.
And 5 weeks of work. And on this list, how much, which ones can I, does it get me 23 O'Connor Avenue?
Yep,
Does it get Appleton Corner Elm Street?
it should get,
Like, how far down the list are we getting for 45,000?
that's really tough to say, because they're going to have to hire a police detail for a lot of these removals.
I guess the problem, John, is, it's like if a private citizen said, hey, come to my house and give me an estimate because I got these 2 trees. What does it cost? Okay, the guy comes, he tells you it costs X, and he takes the 2 trees down, and off he goes, right? Here, I don't know, it's because maybe it's the city of Holyoke and it's all gets to be fuzzy, but I have this, and we have no person who actually went out and bid these trees. Right. It's like, well, we'll be here for X number of weeks. I don't know how many I'm going to take down, but, just give me 45 grand and we'll see how it goes. We got to get to a point where there's a level of accountability to taxpayers that says it's X dollars and we're going to take down this. It seems real fuzzy to me. And I like, who's looking out for taxpayers here, and who's looking out for accountability that I'm actually paying for these trees? I'd like someone to say, you take all these trees down and it's X dollars. Now, I get it that, maybe some exigent circumstance occurred, but they factor that into their bids, right? These are smart people. They do this for a living, right? So they factor it in, and then we should be theoretically putting this out. This is public work. And we're saying, okay, here's what we want to have out. You bid, and then we evaluate and open up a package that says we're going to do this and this and this, and this is what it's going to cost taxpayers. And we go for low bid, and we try to save taxpayers as much and get as much work as possible. So I would be looking for the DPW to present us a comprehensive plan and a bidding process, if necessary, to protect residents from dangerous trees. And
You want to concentrate only on removals and forget everything else, because that's what we've been doing for years.
well, I'm up for walking and chewing gum at the same time, but if you've identified 100 dangerous trees, let's get them gone, right? And let's figure out what is that going to cost? Because my job is to fund things that are presented to me. The problem is when I don't have anything presented to me, I have no dollar to consider, and the mayor has nothing to consider.
Do you have the list of the 238 trees we removed already over the past 2 years?
I don't, but you're welcome. Please provide it, and
You should have it.
Oh, is that in here now too? Okay, great, beautiful. I don't know, what did that all cost?
Whatever was budgeted for the year, I use the budget up. It varies year to year.
Okay, so I'm unaware of us cutting your budget. So my knowledge is if you did 238 in 2 years, then this 100, gee whiz, we should be all set. We got plenty of money to do that then. Let's go get the 100 down and make it happen.
You want to answer answer that.
Sure. So just a couple clarifications on the bidding process. So if you're looking out for the taxpayer, you're going to want a time and materials. You're not going to want a cost per tree. You want to get a crew out here.
Okay.
They're going to be out here for 8 hours, 2-person, 3-person crew. If we start getting a cost per tree, that's going to cost us a lot more. So let's let them plow on through and get as many down as they can within that 8-hour time frame, if that's what the workday looks like.
Okay.
So, and the other part of it is they are trees. And again, John gave me a great explanation as to not every dangerous tree looks dangerous. And part of keeping a tree from getting dangerous is the maintenance component. And, you know, he just alluded to the fact that if we don't do maintenance, we just keep creating that cycle of we wait for them to die and become dangerous and take down.
No one's suggesting that. No one, what we've asked though, Mary, if you could address is, we've asked for you to identify the 100 most dangerous trees that need to be removed.
That's in your packet that you can.
Great, so we
Under
want to know
3.
how much does that cost to do that?
That's a time and material thing.
Okay, then.
Depending on the neighborhood you're in, if we're going from one street on one side of the city to the other side,
Right.
you might get 2 trees down, but if you stay like he's proposing on Walnut Street, you're gonna get a lot more trees down, because
Okay.
it's just moving down. So again, the appropriate way, and the way he's approaching it, is we've got a time and materials bid. Here's your list, here's what he's prioritized, and we're gonna get as far down that list as we can and continue. But to give you a cost per tree, that's not how these projects are bid.
Well, why wouldn't we just give a list of this 100 tree list to these firms and let them go out and evaluate these trees and say, I can do that work for X dollars?
I'm just guessing that evaluation carries a price to it too. So we're doing the evaluation, we're giving a list,
Okay.
and they're coming in on a time and materials basis.
Okay, but
And
even
John's
with
directing.
time and materials, you don't know how much it's gonna cost.
No, I've never charged anyone to cut down a tree in 37 years. So I have no idea how much.
Okay, but,
Costs.
but we need the DPW to have the wherewithal to have fixed projects with fixed cost, or at least a good estimate of what those costs are. We task you guys with doing public works. This is a public work. We have a finite amount of 100 trees. What does that cost? Does it cost 50 grand, 100 grand?
Every tree is different.
Yep.
Well, I understand that, but we're
Some
counting,
take an entire day. Some they can do 2 or 3 in a day.
but you guys should be evaluating that and putting an estimate together for us, or getting bidders to do that, so the mayor
Bidders
and the
won't
council
do
can
that.
provide you the resources to do the job. Otherwise, it's fuzzy and it doesn't get done. But I'll stop there, others I'm sure.
Can we, Counselor Sullivan, then Counselor Israel Rivera?
So I think I can help facilitate this conversation a little bit, because I've probably taken down over 100 trees in my life, all right? To your point, exactly, a pine tree, an oak tree, a maple tree, they all have different characteristics, all right? The maples tend to snap, you know. You have some trees that are much bigger, their proximity to other trees, what else can happen in the removal of it, power lines, every one of them, every single one is different. As far as putting it together as a package, right? I think that would be a good idea, and put it out for bid, and let them evaluate it. There's not going to be any cost for them to evaluate. If they want the bid to do it, here's the list of 100 trees. You go out and you submit your quote to get rid of these 100 trees. So I think that's the way to go. I commend you being out there by yourself sometimes. I don't think anybody should ever be out with a chainsaw by themselves. Never, ever, ever. And I can tell you right now, Mike Lucchese will testify to that. And it was the Holyoke Gas and Electric, because the guys were there and properly trained, that saved his life when the saw went right through his quadricep, all right? So this is a separate discussion I think we really need to have, is whether, at this point, I just don't know where the name tree climber comes from anymore. Tree climbing went out a long, long, long time ago. But Yeah, so, having said that, also, if the money to do this ran out in January, I don't understand the need for this 45,000, which once again, is not going to address the 100 dangerous trees. And I see trees on this list that I would move way up there because they're in parks and playgrounds where children are playing, all right? And, to continue on that line as an example, we had some very large, I believe they were either elm trees or locust trees up at Jones Point come down completely unexpected. Your point, you can't always tell the health of them. These trees just let go by themselves sometimes. All it takes is a strong wind and they came right over, just missed the brand new tennis courts we put in. So,
Perfect example is past weekend, 2 weekends ago, Jarvis Avenue, tree that looked perfectly healthy. Part of it fell down and the tire inside was hollow.
yep.
Fortunately, the gas and electric.
Microphone.
Fortunately, the gas and electric, I have a pretty good rapport with them. We're worried about their power lines. They took the tree down. We're gonna go pick up the pieces, but that list is ever changing.
So, right now, putting $45,000 to it is we have already presented to the mayor unanimously through the city council to put $200,000 of ARPA money in there. This money's been available for several years now, all right? And I think we all really need to address that as a clause and get this entire package out to bid. It's, as you say, so far, we're not keeping up. We take down 10 trees or we take down this number. We're not keeping up with what we need to do in the city to eliminate a hazardous situation. All right, so I don't know yet where I'm at with the 45,000 when we have $200,000 that's available, right? And we're just waiting on a decision to address this entire list.
That's what we've been doing throughout the year,
Yep.
is we had the tree climber position for, I think, $150,000. And as the year went on and the position wasn't filled, Carl would transfer $30,000, $40,000 at a time so we could keep the contractor going.
Yeah, we're never going to hire a tree climber at $45,000 a year.
No.
Even if you like the term tree climber, they're all working from a bucket, all right? And they're all making in the neighborhood of $75,000 to $90,000 a year.
Yeah.
So we can, the same thing's going to happen every year with this. The fact that we even had somebody last for a couple of months is amazing. But I'm sure he's gone somewhere else now and making twice as much money, so.
Any other, I see.
Counselor, are you?
Izzy has.
Counselor Israel Rivera.
Yes, thank you. So I'm hearing mostly talking about tree cutting, but I have concerns around branches that are way low and sticking out over sidewalks, which are, for me, feel like an easy lift. A good example is Laurel Street. I was walking my dog and I'm not paying attention on my phone and I got smacked by 2 branches. And then moving forward, as you continue walking down Laurel Street, there's a whole bunch of branches that are sticking down literally on the pathway where people are walking, right? So a neighbor can't cut a tree on a tree belt. They can't touch those trees. It's illegal for them to do that. So it would be up to us as a city just to trim those branches back. I also play softball at Kelly School, and I've witnessed someone chasing a fly ball and get poked in the face by one of the branches that are reaching over into the field. So to me, it's great that we're going after the 100 trees that are dangerous, but what about the branches that are kind of like, I feel like it's low-hanging fruit, reaching over into the paths where people walk, where residents are constantly either jogging, walking their dogs, or whatever it is. Because I'm not sure if you need a bucket. I'm not sure if you need the extra guide to help you on that situation. You may very well need that. But I'll be honest with you, even walking down Main Street, the trees that were cut down, they're all growing back, and nobody's cutting those back either. So like it becomes a problem if there's no actual maintenance at the same time. So it's kind of going back to the walking and chewing gum at the same time that was referenced by Councilor Jordan. I'm trying to figure out like what are we doing about that in a sense, and maybe it's a separate order that needs to be filed. But in a sense, I feel like we're talking about trees right now, and some of this stuff is the easy stuff, right? What you guys are talking about, taking down whole trees, yeah, that's more complicated, takes a lot more money. But I think the easier stuff, where the branches are literally in the pathways of sidewalks, what are we like? How are we handling those? And is that incorporated into the plan? Yeah, thank you.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yeah,
Counselor Sullivan?
through the chair to Councilor Rivera, I think if we address the main issue of the 100 dangerous trees through putting it out to bid, freeing up the DPW, what we're talking about here is a routine pruning operations. The department would have plenty of time with the big, large, dangerous trees taken off of the plate. They'd have the availability and the time to take care of the simple pruning operations. I'll leave that out there if the DPW director would like to respond. Yeah.
It's interesting to note the constraints of DPW, staffing wise. So again, all of these are wonderful things. All of these are things that in a perfect world, the DPW would be thrilled to do. John would be thrilled. I mean, again, the one thing I'll note about the crew, it's only my third week as the interim, right, is they're all dedicated to the jobs every day, but they lack the resources, whether it's they lack enough people to help do that. Again, the number of calls that come in every day from residents that need a response about whether it's a pothole, and they go and they look, and they try to make something happen. It's the trash pickup, and we're all under, DPW, so we may be just talking trees here, but John is the tree person. There are no other tree people. And then it is the summer season, so we've got the mowing, we've got all of the other repairs that take advantage of the fact that it's not winter, and we're coming off of a really bad winter where there's even many more repairs. We're down staff. We don't have a full contingent of HMEOs. So it's, again, we share that desire to want to do all that. We really do, which is why we ask for so much in our budgets. But when we can't get what we need in the budget, then something has to go undone. And that's the job of council to figure out. When you see the budgets, how you fund those budgets tells us in the city what you're prioritizing.
Go ahead, Counselor Jordan.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So what we're saying is we want to give you the resources. We want to support you in doing this. So if you would be kind enough to go out and get bid for these 100 dangerous trees, I'm sure we'll find a way to fund it. And that'll be up to the mayor and the council to get that figured out. But we don't want trees falling on kids. We leave it to your professional judgment as to who gets on the list. So if you feel to give us now this list, that means you've made the determination that these are dangerous and they should be removed, and you just lack the resources to get it done. So now it's time for leadership to give you the resources to do it. So if you would just let us put this out to bid and let us know how much this will cost, then we'll have to figure out a solution. What about the truck? Do we need that truck anymore?
Can we stay on the trees for a bit?
Okay.
Because we got another Counselor Rivera. I had a question, and then if you want to talk about
All right,
the
maybe
truck.
I'll save the truck for when we talk
'cause-
about the bigger department, the
that's,
tree truck,
yeah.
All right.
So what I'm going to ask, John, this 45.5, that's going to be for contracted forestry services. Will you be supervising them? How does that going to work?
Yes, I always supervise the crew. And
Okay, great.
they're not hanging around. I make sure that they're working, and
Okay, great.
Yep.
And Counselor Rivera, you got your hand up again?
Yeah, it's for clarification on what Councilor Sullivan said with around the importance of the 100 trees first over branches that are kind of peering into the sidewalks. So are we saying that this is not priority here and we do the trees first and that'll help out alleviate the situation? Because I feel like we could do both at the same time. But again, I'm not the supervisor and I'm not in charge of that. But ultimately, it it kind of reflects a lot on what our priorities are as a community. If there's a branch, literally a branch that can be cut, right? Going into the sidewalk path where people are walking, they can't even walk. They got to walk in the street. So we're gonna wait till we cut all those trees down first before we can cut a branch. That's just
Excuse me,
clarification.
I think what we can do, if you could tell John, or maybe John could meet with you, show him exactly what you're talking about. I would think that's what you would prefer, John?
Yes.
Okay, so Izzy, if you could get in touch with him and have him go up and meet with you, show him the branches, and I'm sure that can be added to this group of trees if they're that dangerous that, people are walking into them. How does that
All right,
sound?
got it. I'll
Okay.
go around and I'll do that. That's no problem. I'll go around and I'll look at all the trees. I know some's offhand, but I'll see what other ones I can do or find where they're literally intrusive onto the sidewalks to make sure that they're identified. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
See, to me, unfortunately, that's what being proactive is. If you can do it a street at a time, you can
Right.
wipe something out if you have the resources.
Right, right.
And if we have $200,000 coming, then we can run two,
Right.
3 crews at once, possibly,
Right.
if the contractor's available.
Yeah, for sure. So, Counselor Rivera, is that okay that you do that? And get in touch with John and maybe meet with him and show him which trees you're talking about so that he can get those taken care of?
Yes, we could do that. And then real quick, or maybe I can ask him that around if it's someone else's on someone else's property, who's in charge of making sure that they cut it back and trim it back from the sidewalk too as well? Is that the ordinance police or the ordinance officer, or would that be you, John, too as well?
Unfortunately, we've run into that before, and I've gone to the Board of Health, and I thought they had jurisdiction over private property, and apparently they do not concerning trees.
Okay,
State law says, I believe, that we can prune anything up to where the city property ends, so long as we're not hurting the overall health of the tree. The homeowner would be great if they would take care of it. I can't make them.
right, right. Okay, any other questions?
Okay, can I ask my question now? Because
Go ahead.
I'm saying,
Well, if you
So-
raise your hand, I'll be
well,
happy to help
I
you.
did say that I had a question. Whether
I didn't
you
hear
heard me or
you.
not, well,
So go ahead.
so on this tree removal list for May of this year, I don't see South Summer Street on here. Like you go straight down South Summer and you see a jungle, right? And the branches, like Israel saying, also mentioned that they're kind of low. And not only that the whole tree, the trunk of the tree, the bottom of it, is bringing up all the sidewalks. A few times, 2 ladies that use a wheelchair tipped over because of these big trunk, they're coming out of the sidewalk, and you like this, So, when is that? I mean, because you guys took down the trees on Main Street, but the trunk of, bottom of the tree, you guys didn't pull that out. So like a week or two after, Israel was asking me about, because all the weeds were coming up really high already, in 2 weeks. So, but back to South Summer Street, I think that you guys should drive down South Summer Street and see all the trees there, the branches and trees or whatever, because those trees look very sick to me, and the branches are falling off, because I called a couple of times. DPW every time a branch fall, just breaks for no reason, and then it can fall on top of somebody and hurt someone, so, and the kids, the branches are so low that they're just pulling them down, so, I mean, I know you guys are short-handed, like Israel's going to go around and find out which tree branches need to be cut, but, like, I addressed the ones on South Summer Street, but that's, I mean, I guess it's part of being a city council, you know what I'm saying? Help out also, and let you guys know what's what, where is that, but, I mean, that wasn't in my job description, I don't mind doing it, but it's just for the safety of the people, so, but yeah, South Summer Street is not on this list at all.
Excuse me, I see two. I don't know what number you're looking at.
Well, the one,
There's
the
531 and 527 South Summer, but I don't know if that's what you're looking at.
No, that's the ones you're talking about. That was between 2023 to 2025, which only was 2 trees taken down.
Those were probably removed already, and those
Yeah.
were city council orders.
There you go, see, because I remember those trees, because I was the one that wanted them down.
Fortunately, I don't
So-
want to have happen down there what happened on Main Street. We cut all those trees down with the promise of replanting them right away. That's not gonna happen. The
So,
trees on South Summer Street aren't dead yet. They're not infested yet with the emerald ash borer, so we try to save them as long as possible. Sidewalk root conflicts are a constant problem. We've had some success in the DPW recently. If it's a concrete sidewalk, we have a new supervisor who is going out and lifting the concrete and trying to cut the root out from underneath it with my permission and approval, because I'd rather do that than remove the tree and try and lay the sidewalk back down. He's had some success with it, and I'd like him to keep trying to do that. But I don't want to remove a whole bunch of trees that aren't dead yet, because they probably won't get replanted. We don't have the resources to grind stumps in-house. That will be another out-to-bid thing, another contractor thing, and we don't have the resources to replant.
Well,
So we're trying to save things as long as we can, has been my theory.
Well, like I said, it's already starting to look like a jungle. Okay, like you literally look, and it looks like a jungle, like you're going through a little path. So by next month, it's gonna be worse. So I don't know what you guys call, it's not important to put on here.
Unfortunately, they haven't been properly maintained over their lifespan. If they were properly maintained, we wouldn't have that problem, but we haven't had the resources to properly maintain anything.
So you guys go by this list right here is based on residents letting you guys know about these trees, right?
Primarily correct, yes.
Okay, so I'm not only just a city council, okay, of Ward 2, I am a resident of Ward 2 on South Summer Street, and I see this all the time, okay? And when people have to, people in wheelchairs tip over because these overgrowing trees, they're bringing up the sidewalks, and basically nobody's like caring, because this is not the first time that I mentioned this. So I don't know what else to say, but South Summer Street should be on this list.
Let's say, unfortunately, cutting down a tree doesn't fix a sidewalk. But I will be more than happy to go down South Summer Street again and reevaluate the trees on there and see if there's anything I should add to the removal list.
Okay,
Could I ask one more question?
yes, please.
John, you as well as Mary, it is frustrating from our side of the table, or at least, again, only speaking for myself, when I'll hear things like, and I know you don't mean it this way, but like, we haven't been properly resourced and we can't really do the job that we want to do. Like, we don't make the budget. The mayor does make the budget. We come in, we can only lower it, right? That's state law. Everybody knows that at this point. I don't recall ever, and you correct me if I'm wrong, have we ever, the city council, turned down like anything for trees? Like, I don't recall ever, like, there was a proposal from the department that came in and said, you know, we need 250 grand to do all the tree work to have this place humming like a, you know, a hummingbird. And we said no. So like, if we don't get proposals, if we don't get requests, we can't say yes. So I think it's really like we would, and this isn't just your department, this is other departments too. Our friendly suggestion, my friendly suggestion is like, come in with the Cadillac plan. Like if we had it, like what we really need to do correct maintenance, to do, I mean, all these different things, then, and we'll maybe make that as part of the food for thought for the next conversation about the approaching the trees. Then, you know what, if we say, look, you know, we'd love to give you Cadillac, but you're going to get Toyota. And, or hopefully it's not going to be down to the 20-year-old used Toyota. Then I think you really need to say, like, this is what we need to do the job, like, and come up with a plan. And I guess that's what I'm trying to encourage with the 100-tree plan. And that's only to, like, bring it on, like, make the city say, like, here it all is, like, this is what we need to do the job right for the residents. And it may be, we can't give it to you all in 1 year. Maybe it's, we got to break it up over 3 or 4 years to really get us back where we want to be. But you've been doing this a long, long time, and I've been doing this a long, long time, and some of us have been doing this a long, long time. So all I'm saying is give us the plan, because we'll give you what you need. We just got to figure out how to pay for it. But when we don't get an ask, we can't say yes. So I would just take that as one of the takeaways from today. The residents want the right thing done, and we're willing to pay provided we have a plan and it looks coherent and this is the approach. And it may not be everything, but at least we've got a strategic approach. So that's the thing I'm coming at with this 100-tree thing. Like, put that out there. Let's get that to Izzy's point and Mike's point and everybody else. There's maintenance issues, this and broken sidewalks, and we'll figure all this out, but we need like a comprehensive approach to trees, and we appreciate your thoughtfulness on it. Thank you.
And I think right now what we do have a transfer for the 45, 525, 58, but before we do that, we also have that you'll look at South Summer Street with Counselor, and also look at Laurel, is it Laurel Street? Izzy? Did you say Laurel?
I think you did. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you said Laurel.
Okay, so. if
My
you could take-
apologies. Yeah, Laurel Street is one of
Okay.
them. But I'll go around and I'll look at the other streets and I'll let you know. I'm actually at Kelly School right now, and I'll look at some of the parks right now, some of the trees that are reaching over into the park too as well. Thank you again.
Thank you, and you'll get in touch with Counselor,
Yes, I'll reach out to
many people?
Mr. Tui.
You barely show up. One guy's to show.
and you'll get in touch with Counselor Ocasio and look at South
Yes.
Summer Street.
Yes, we could do that too as well. I mean, I'm in the office all the time. I see her all the time, making her rounds on Main and South Summer Street. So we'll run into each other.
Tell him we're not talking to him.
Yeah.
Izzy, we're all set, thank you. So do I hear a motion to accept a transfer? Counselor Sullivan?
Myself, I can't vote for this when we got $200,000. So we're going to commit moving the 45,000 to take care of 10 trees. This is, you know, putting a Band-Aid on a ridiculous wound. All right, we've got $200,000. We're waiting to hear what's going to happen with that, and to make this kind of transfer without hearing on that, I feel we're just being played out here. So. I don't want to spend 45,000 to do this much work. I want a real answer and take care of the real problem, the 100 trees. This is not going to take care of the 100 trees.
And maybe if we get that number, if I may, like we could put the 45 towards that like the real answer, right? The real solution.
I would add the 45 to the 200.
Right,
because there's that much
that's
work
my
to be
point.
done.
That's my
Counselor
point.
Givner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, does this transfer help get work going? Because it sounds like right now nothing is happening. So
Please say yes rather than shake
Yeah.
your heads.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Because it sounds like right now there's no pruning, there's no tree cutting, there's just branches falling in storms, there's counselors noting all the problems all over the city, there's dead trees on this list that could be started on immediately, or we can not approve this and wait till something happens. But this is already funding that's in the DPW budget, it sounds like, is my understanding, so it's just transferring. So I don't understand. I guess I'm wondering why we can't do both things, why we can't get this going. 5 weeks is a long time to be able to secure contractors. And you just said that the 45 grand would secure contractors for 5 weeks to start working immediately. I think that sounds really good. And in the meantime, we can figure out this other 200 if it, and it sounds like you'll also be getting a better idea of how much this project will be costing, because I'm sure you'll be keeping very good track of how this money's being spent. If 45 grand pays for 5 weeks of work, we'll be able to see how many trees come down, the types of trees. It seems like these things were just not paid attention to as much in the past, so it's hard to create estimates based on information that apparently hasn't been gathered very well, and that's, who knows whose fault that is. But the point is, we don't have data to pull from, but we can keep this ball rolling, keep the work going. The weather's good. Now's the time to continue. I don't think now's the time to stall these projects. I would say, this has my support just because I strongly feel like these projects need to continue. Just stopping the work while we wait, I don't feel comfortable with that. Thanks.
And I agree that this 45.5 is going to be doing some work. You're going to be contracting some work with that. May I suggest, once the 45,000 is getting close to being used up, come back to us. Tell us what you've done. Show us what you've done. Meet with the counselors that we asked you to meet with, and we'll go from there. We can also look at our budgets to see what was allocated. But to not pass this tonight, I think is, what's that expression, pound foolish or?
Disservice?
Penny fund, yeah. And I think that we need to at least get them started on that.
I have one more question.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I would say, I would think that if this were to pass this evening and go on to the full council for consideration, that we would want to know exactly from this list what came down. I did appreciate all the emails I was getting from the DPW when Carl was here. I would get updates about different projects that were completed in various neighborhoods that were requested. And I think that's just really helpful because constituents reach out to us. And if we can, look at this list that comes back to us, we can get in touch with people and be like, hey, are you good? That finally came down. Hope you're all set. And it makes things really transparent. But I think this would be a really great way to gather some costing information without paying someone to do costing information for us. Because when we put things out to bid, I think another good point that was made is that we pay for those bids. We pay for people's time to give us estimates. So if we can use this and really dig our heels in and gather some costing information on, what we're getting, how much bang we're getting for our 45.5 buck, I think it'll help us in the future with the rest of the 200,000. And maybe we don't need the full 200 for the rest of the trees, but we can do a lot that way, I think. So, thank you.
Go ahead, Counselor Sullivan, and then we'll have to wait until Counselor Ocasio gets back to actually take a vote. And I can almost guarantee you what the vote's going to be, but go ahead.
Yeah. This package, I'll tell you right now, is just a piece of it. With the 200,000, you might not get through this whole package. If you do, there's plenty more to be done. all right? The decision on the $200,000 could be made tomorrow morning, long before we ever put this in front of the council, all right? The $200,000 is sitting there available, and it's not Holyoke taxpayer money. It's been sitting there now for years, all right? The $45,000 could go back into free cash. I'm not gonna vote for it.
Counselor Givner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I mean, I think that's a really good point. If you think we're gonna hear back in the morning, maybe the best thing to do is table this for the time being. I mean, things move so slow that I was just concerned that we're waiting for, if we're waiting 5 weeks to get an answer, then I think we're doing a disservice to the public. If we're waiting 24 hours for an answer, then maybe we should table this and see what happens. I'm not like, I think it makes sense. I'm just trying not to stall work.
Counselor
Thank
Sullivan,
you.
are you going to approach the mayor tomorrow about getting 200,000?
Sure.
Okay.
We've approached them already. We've sent a
I'm just-
unanimous resolution to them to use the money that way.
Well,
But I will make a phone call, yes.
okay, so
Motion
is there a
to
motion
table.
to table?
Before you do that, I suggest go ahead, send it to full council. I'm only one vote.
Motion
No,
to table.
Motion to table.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Thank you for coming in.
Very helpful.
Sorry that.
Appreciate you putting that list together, thank you.
Yeah, that's
And
great.
Counselor Sullivan will check with the mayor tomorrow about getting 200,000. And when he lets us know that, we'll call you back and
Take it from there.
Take it from
We
there.
can always take it off the table at the next council meeting. We could pull it out of committee anyways.
Okay,
Yeah, we can do that at any time. Yep.
all right, thank you.
thank you.
You started to mention about the tree truck.
Well, we need to file an order. We do need to file an order to have the bigger conversation about where we're going with all of this. Okay.
But it is an emergency response vehicle. Would you get rid of a fire truck just because it didn't go out every day?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, how about any day?
Well,
That there's a difference.
Does
Fire
go
trucks
out.
are actually used. There's a difference.
it does go out
Yeah.
in emergencies.
All right, well,
Oh, that's just something to keep.
the count,
You won't have it at all.
right. I think though, the concern, John, is that, on that is, what was the council told they were getting for that amount, and what are they actually getting, so.
All right.
I'll let you take that up with Linda Vacan. That's her, she loves that issue. She'll talk all day with you on it.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Motion to take up item 6.
Item
So
6.
moved.
From McMillan Law Offices, refund of community impact fees paid pursuant to HCCA with Holyoke 420 LLC. Is there anything in our packets?
Yes, there's a letter from them.
Oh, there it is, okay. We have no lawyer here.
Any particular reason this is with us?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this is basically, they're saying, hey, we're gonna sue you if you don't do X, Y, Z. It seems like this should be going to the law department to evaluate, and they should have negotiations or whatever it is they're.
Jeffrey,
Just a
do you know by any chance why this came to finance and not the law department?
It was just a motion somebody made, but I don't recall that there was an explanation given, although I'd have to go back and look at the minutes to see for sure, but
Okay.
I
Do I have a
think-
motion to
Receive.
receive and send to the law department?
Yes.
Well, it's,
Second.
Wait a minute, Counselor Sullivan.
it's already been sent to the law department. This letter was addressed to the law
I
department.
understand that, but right now it's in finance.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do with it?
I would say we should get it out of finance and send it over with a copy to the law department, or
Yeah.
just receive.
Just receive and,
That's it.
The law department should, if they need us, they should ask
Okay.
you to file something and then have a session at that point, but we
Yeah.
need direction from the
so we'll
mayor,
just,
the mayor and the law
Motion to
department.
receive.
Just receive, yeah.
and it's going to still be in finance.
Well, motion to move it out of committee and just that the council receive it and with a copy to the law department then.
Yeah, that's what I'd prefer. Okay.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Mike, did you have something else you want to say?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Yep.
No, that wasn't what I was going to ask you.